Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the More Than Made podcast. My name is Jake Langdon.
And I'm Alan Langdon.
And it is time. We have finally arrived. It feels like Christmas is just arriving. You know, every day I wake up, it feels like it's Advent, another day. It's like Christmas vacation where they're opening the little flaps of the Advent calendar. So I'm really getting excited. Unfortunately, we had some drama and the first wreck of the year with Alexander Rossi and Palou O'Ward yesterday, and we're waiting until Friday. We got a rainy Tuesday here in Indianapolis, and just awaiting that carb day and heading into the Indy 500. So we're going to give you our predictions, of course, give you kind of a review of qualifying. We actually made it to the Fast 12 and the Fast 6, and on top of that, just give you an overview of what to expect. So just hopping in, Alan, what were your experiences like at qualifying? What are your thoughts leaving that, obviously with Monday as well?
Yeah, no, Quals was great. Didn't get to be there for the full day, but did get here for the back half. Solid crowd. It was good. I mean, it's interesting with the Sunday qualifying, since Saturday was rained out. You had one shot at Sunday, so it created a bit of unique drama in the sense that, like, you had a couple guys in upsets, like Joseph Newgarden not making the Fast 12, so it did create some bit of drama there. But it also too is interesting because it really made the draw even more of a factor. So on every Friday before qual weekend, drivers pick a name out of the hat, and that really determines when they'll qual. And as you can imagine, earlier morning, midday, it's a lot cooler temperatures than like late day when it's had sun throughout the track. And hotter the temperatures, the harder the temperatures, the harder it is to maneuver the car, the more slippery it can get, and the less fast it can go. So I think that was pretty evident when a good chunk, maybe even half of the Fast 12 ended up being cars that qualified in the morning. So that was an interesting factor. I mean, beyond that, just I don't know what else Palou could do at this point. He's kind of, as you said, completed IndyCar.
Yeah, you win the championship multiple times. You win the Indy 500. You win at Long Beach, and you're on pole at Indy. I mean, when it comes to having all the checks in an IndyCar career, I can't think of anything else. We don't have the Triple Crown anymore. That would be the only other thing, but maybe they'll bring that back and he'll win that too, right? But yeah. As you said it, yeah. So Palou obviously on pole, but when you look, he pulled the third to last spot, and it was Abel and Legg right after him, and so he literally had to will that car just to get to the 11th spot, and to then put that on pole from barely making it to the Fast 12 shows you how those variable conditions, when the track temperature, I think you kind of wanted around 100 degrees. And then, as the day got warmer, you get to 110, 115. That's where you really struggle for grip. And you see people having to change their setup, put more wing, more downforce, really, slowing you down in the straights, but helping you in the corners. And he was able to just will it. And then once he got in even with everyone else, it was kind of a wrap. And unfortunately, everyone thought Felix Rosenqvist was going to be on pole, and for some reason, I don't know, the car just wasn't up for it. Like it was weird. He literally had run a pole run a half hour before he did that last run.
Yeah, I mean, he had multiple runs, all in the 232s from his first run to his last. But yeah, it just ended up being this scenario. I mean, it wasn't like he lifted at all or anything. It was just kind of
4 on his first run was faster than any of the laps on his last run.
Yeah, I don't know if he was trying to play it cautious or something was wrong with the car. But yeah, I mean, huge bummer. I mean, we really thought he'd be the favorite to get pole. And it's, for a guy who's had a pretty up and down year, I mean, that would have been quite the highlight.
Yeah, just for some perspective, I mean, his first run, obviously ideal conditions, but he ran a 232.6, and Palou put it on pole with a 232.25. So, I mean, that shows you just the difference, that how well he was running. And then I don't have the Fast 12 number right in front of me, but I'm sure it was still, I know it was above 232. But he qualified fourth. He's not even in the front row, and people were joking, including myself, about how ugly the livery was. And someone was like, the IndyCar gods did not want that thing in the museum. And I was thinking, well, the top 3 are still in the museum. And I'm like, wait, he didn't even make the front row. So remember that setup they have where
those are top 3 finishes, not the top 3 qualifiers.
It's for the qualifiers, because that's how they come out. It's like the intro, right? When you're walking down the main, if you've been in the museum, I could probably put a photo up of it, but you can see they've got this little setup where they wrap the cars right after they get on on pole, and they have this whole screen that goes in the sky, kind of presenting what the grandeur and all the ceremonies are for the Indy 500 before the race. But anyway, yeah. So Palou on pole. Malukas and Rossi round out the front row. Rossi in second, and then no huge surprises during qualifying. One thing I noted was that 5 of the top 6 in the Fast 6 this year finished in the top 5 for the Indy 500 last year. So literally, like, some of the best drivers in the field are at the top, and then you include Daly right off of there, and you have Sato at 13th. You got Castroneves at 14th.
There's worth noting too that the top 6 has 6 different teams. You've got Ganassi, Penske, McLaren, Dreyer and Reinbold, Meyer Shank.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I mean, everyone but RLL. I think you said what? RLL, obviously Abel.
Yeah.
And Dale Coyne, obviously, with a poor effort.
You had Foyt there for a second, but then
well, Fort's right here with Ferrucci.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so speaking of that, the big drama was that that after quals, they went through post-quals inspection, and 2 different drivers, Jack Harvey, who qualified 29th, and Caio Collet, the rookie from Brazil that drives for the number 4 car for AJ Foyt, and they were both disqualified. They lost their run, had to move to the back of the field. And it had to do with just the fasteners they used on some of the brake lines. It was really kind of, it was a nothing, like it didn't actually help anyone with any amount of time that would have made a difference in more than maybe one place. I don't even think it was just a negligence thing where they used the wrong fasteners. It was some sort of screw that was supposed to be from the supplier, and they just decided to use their own. I mean, evidently, only one of the 2 drivers for each team even had it on their car. So
yeah. I know Marshall Pruitt kind of covered it afterwards, and at least from his input from the paddock, it was very much like a stupid mistake more than any like competitive advantage. And to your point, I think with it being one from individual teams, there's certainly not a pattern. And I think Kaya's car was good regardless, simply because it's a Foyt. And Harvey's, I think, was better, but just qualified poorly in it. So it's a bummer. I was looking forward. I think Kaio having a pretty rough year. I mean, averaging 19th in finishing and 18th in quals. Like, this would have been his best start and hopefully best finish of the year. Now, that's being said, it's a long race. You can still climb back a little bit, but certainly makes that top 10 a lot harder to get now. Yeah,
I mean, he obviously has a great car. I think he even thought he would have a good chance at the Fast 6. I mean, you look at the open test, he's had speed all year. But yeah, unfortunately, when you're a rookie, you think about having to make it through the field like that, really passing a lot of cars. That's a lot more pressure than it would be just to kind of get up there in front, hang around the pack. I mean, you may bleed a few places here and there. You have obviously some great veterans behind you in, Dixon, Sato, and Castroneves. But at the end of the day, you have to make mistakes to get past at this track. You have to be patient. You have to, if you're just racing clean, you're going, following the pack with the car he had, he would have been able to probably be able to have a good chance of getting a top 10. And now, he's going to have to rely on some maybe different strategies or just some great racing, which, I don't know where he finished at Phoenix. Let me see.
19th.
There it is. Yeah. So nothing special at Phoenix. So anyway, yeah. So that was kind of the drama again, 2 years in a row, disqualifications. But obviously we only have a field of 33, no bumps. So they'll just move to the back and start in the last row along with our buddy Stingray Robb.
That car was a nightmare to drive. There's an interview with him afterwards because it was getting surprising because Connor Daly finished in the Fast 6 almost. Like, it was, the cars were the same team but could not be more different. I think it just shows you can definitely tell on a broadcast like how much they use the buttons or make adjustments to the car in the car as to like how easy it is to drive. I mean, you can see like Palou where it's just simply like some slight motions versus other guys that are like really adjusting. And it really shows like on a speed side, because if you're fighting your car the whole way, you're not getting speed, you're fighting it to stay straight.
Yeah, so even those vibrations, like all of that, you're losing time. I remember Rosenquist, his runs always looked effortless too, and I was like, I know that car is really, really strong. And, obviously he had a really strong result last year. I definitely think he has a chance to maintain that, seeing that he probably has the best car, at least by straight up speed. He hasn't necessarily showed that as much during the towed practice speed. So I still think Daly and Palou probably have the strongest cars, but we'll get into that further. But yeah, just kind of hopping into Monday. So Monday we have our last practice before carb day. And the big drama, of course, was Alexander Rossi. Looked like he overturned going into turn 2, ran right into the wall really hard. And then in reaction, I think Pato lifted too much, lost control of his car, ended up ramming into Rossi, totaling both of their cars. And then Grosjean behind them had a minor wreck, nothing too crazy. I think he lost his gearbox or something, clutch, something like that, but he'll be able to keep his chassis. But the biggest concern was Alexander Rossi, who actually was transported to one of the local hospitals and had to do a small operation on his left hand and his right ankle. So this is the statement from ECR, essentially saying that they did some outpatient procedures, meaning that he was able to go home the next day or that day. And then he was actually on his podcast today at Cracker Barrel. So I'll have to watch that later, see how he looks. But for the most part, his goal obviously is to get cleared and start in second. But if not, that's where it really, really gets interesting. I believe that you can make a driver switch early. If you make it before, like the day of, you still keep the spot. Is it the driver, not the car? It's the car, not the driver.
I know
right?
You qualify the car, not the driver, but I don't know what time limit is in terms of when that happens. Because because it was Wilson's injury and Ray Hall's replacement it was after Quals. So,
yeah.
And he was able to maintain that spot, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Well, he qualified like near the back. Remember, yeah. I think he bumped him, so that might not even be
irrelevant. For the IndyCar rulebook here. Beyond that, I think in the broadcast that I mentioned too, like Rossi was probably about 4 or 5 laps from his would have been race pit window. So again, I think part of it just bad timing, but 2, I think the tires were already kind of worn down a little bit. So something to watch come race day if the tires are decking that quickly.
Because I know last year they had some drama with Larson. And they wrote in some rules to allow them to switch, but I believe they had to switch all the way to the back. So a car is qualified to the field and a driver qualifies to the spot. So the driver would have to start in 33 if they move all the way to the back.
But the car stays though. So it's qualifying spot, it still counts as a qualifying spot.
I mean, you get the points, but you would still have to start 33rd.
No, I'm saying if Rossi stayed, the car would stay.
Yeah, it's the driver, not the car. So they can go to a backup car now, which they are obviously, and they're actually weren't even on their Indy 500 engine yet. Chevy kind of has a strategy where they want to qualify with your pre-Indy 500 engine and then throw that out and switch in the new engine right away. So honestly, it really just comes down to the chassis for him and O'Ward. How good those chassis are, those backups. Sometimes there's just imperfections in how they're made. You only have so many chassis, and that's why they, sometimes they test out both. And a lot of the times they'll save their Indy 500 chassis because they really like it for that and have their road and street one throughout the year before that.
Yeah, it's not to say too that kind of appreciating the fact that those cars, as much as it's a spec series, the suspensions, the wing turns, the orientation of the the weight bar, and those kind of things, those are a lot of minute details that will absolutely be a difference between a car running 232 and 229.
Yeah.
So I think again, the benefit is they have the sheet, they have the master puzzle, but they got to put the pieces back together. Now again, there's no guarantee that they can do that, and a lot of times too, you can ask drivers and teams, sometimes it's just pure luck. They don't actually know how or why in both directions.
You think about Prema last year. I mean, obviously you have Michael Cannon, but still, you're just got a new chassis. You have a Chevy engine. You're oh, let's see, it works.
Yeah, I mean, because it could go one of 2 ways. I think Rossi will still be a competitive driver, but it definitely, in my perspective, reduces his value.
Yeah, so I don't know when he would be expected to be cleared. Obviously, he's trying to make the field. I mean, this is his best chance he's had since probably 2020. I mean, he had a podium, I think, back in, let's see. He finished 4th in 24 with McLaren. So, yeah, he's had a few good performances in the last couple years. But right now, yeah, so some of the replacements that maybe if he's out, people have been thinking about. First off, of course, Kyle Eilert raced full-time this series last year with Prema.
Currently doing media stuff at Indy.
He's around. There, so. Like, his best finish is 11th. I think he has his 12th place as well. He's had a couple
sealed it
far back finishes as well.
Sealed it for us in TFAC back in like 23.
He did. Yeah, he did. But he raced with McLaren before, and then he raced with Prema last year. He's raced with Juncos, so he's used to being in different equipment. Obviously, plug and play, should do fine. Stefan Wilson is another name that was thrown around. I looked, he's only had one non-Indy 500 start in the series. I always thought that he had raced a little bit.
Yeah, and his brother was also big.
Yeah, obviously, Justin was a great driver for IndyCar. God rest his soul. But Stefan actually was getting funding together for the Indy 500 this year, but he couldn't get an engine lease, and that's been the hardest issue the last few years.
We can talk about that for a while, but that's not relevant just yet.
But he's a very similar build to Rossi when you talk about height, weight, all those things. And then finally, Linus Lundqvist, 2024, finished 28th, but he also got a podium at Gateway. Hasn't been in the series since, unfortunately, just due to lack of funding. And, I think he's someone that we all think pretty highly of in the paddock and on our podcast with our microphones as well. But yeah, so those are guys that names have been thrown around. The only thing with Callum is that he's under contract with Prema, but they'd have to be real assholes to not let him run.
Yeah, they're not using it right now anyways, so. Alrighty.
Just look at the rest of qualifying. Newgarden is really the biggest storyline starting back in P23. You look at his qualifying resume. He started in 13th in 2020, 21st in 2021, 12th, 17th, 3rd, and 32nd. He won from 17th. And obviously 32nd, that was when he got DQ'd, so that's kind of an exception. But he's used to coming from the back, and he actually was first in practice yesterday. Obviously, it was limited practice, but still, I'm sure that car's still good in traffic. He's just going to need probably make a last-second pass like he's done before year after year.
It's going to be a lot of work, but certainly not counting him out by any means. I think one other casualty from the Kyle Collette and Harvey move back was that we missed out on the second oldest starting row in Indy 500 history. Because we had Sato, Carpenter, and Elio.
Yeah.
It's like in the average 50s. I think Nathan Brown.
Yeah, coming out of retirement. Yeah, he couldn't get enough IndyCar content with his Colts coverage, right?
Did the math and didn't do it out on the day, but it was the second oldest by by a pretty close margin.
Yeah, by about a year, not just over a year. I think it was by days. I saw someone actually go through and count them up. But yeah, so really those are the big storylines of qualifying. Leg, a decent effort. Now starting in 26.
One of her better ones. Out of all the years that it wasn't a bump day, that she would have been clean anyways.
Yeah, she made it a few years ago without having to go to bump day.
Was she 34? Was she 29th or something?
Yeah, right? She barely. She was 20. Let's see, 29th. Yeah, so she avoided it by one spot, but she only ran once that day. But Chevy seems to be getting her, up to speed, and she'll at least be able to keep up with the pack, which is good. Just got to keep it out of the wall.
It's a Chevy and it's a Foyt. I think Foyt.
Yeah,
I would liken as much as a Foyt is to, the 500 is Ray Hall, RLL is to the GP. They just know the track really well and have found a solid baseline recipe that gets these cars into good spots.
Yeah, so that kind of wraps up qualifying, of course. So heading in more into our predictions, looking at race day. So looking, practice, like I mentioned, Sato, Hauger, Ryan Ray, and Ericsson and Dixon rounded out the top 5. Having 3 of those guys who really had, I think, disappointing qualifying days, to see them with some speed gives them confidence, I'm sure, especially with Hauger. He's near last, but I was really, one thing we didn't mention is how bad the Andretti and in the McLaren programs were, especially with McLaren being in the Chevy. Obviously, Chevy kind of tends to dominate more on these qualifying Indy 500 runs, and they were nowhere to be found.
No, they were very much in the mid-20s, but in the average from the Honda side. And then, yeah, I mean, I think O'Ward was a bright spot, but the rest of those McLarens did not qualify. And they qualified early in the morning, too. They had the best opportunity, but didn't make much out of it, even with some veterans like Hunter Ray. I think it's worth too, like, Armstrong didn't qualify well either as a Meyer Shank. So it was a weird year in the terms of, like, you had guys that were in the bottom of the field and top of the field and being teammates. Mm-hmm. Again, one of the most, I think, aggressive examples would be Stingray Robb, and that would have been 33rd before the...
Yeah, and then you talk about, Leg and her teammates were both in the Fast 12.
So, yeah, it was definitely, like, it was a wide variety of, like, teammates qualifying.
Except for Andretti. They were all between, 16th, 18th and 25th, I believe. So really just not an impressive day by them. They're going to have to work through the field pretty hard. Obviously Ericsson, I think the most pressure's on him. Obviously second place last year, got DQ'd after the fact, not his fault, but someone who's fighting for his car. When you talk about Dennis Hauger knocking on the door, can he fight and stay in that seat one more year, or is he going to get the boot? So I think this will go a long way in determining that. Outside of that, I look at Kirkwood. He got his first oval win last year at Gateway, but this will be a lot for him to overcome.
Honestly, for the way the championship's looking like, he just needs to hold on for points. If Palou's gonna shoot away with the winner of at least a top 5. Like, if you're Kirkwood, you just got to make the most of the day.
Yeah, one guy I'm interested in that didn't necessarily qualify great is Christian Rasmussen. He's in 15th. Watching his run, he just didn't seem to have the car with the right wing setup. It was just a little squirrely. He had to, lift. I think it was on the first lap, like the first or second turn, and that ended up killing his run. I think when you look, he's moved up 12 spots in each of the first 2 races. I think that he's going to do really well again. That's a guy we've been very high on in this podcast. You look, he probably should have had a win this year at Phoenix and ended up getting a little too aggressive against Power, hitting the wall. And then on the flip side, last year he made this great pass in the Milwaukee Mile around Palou, and probably the best moment of the season last year.
But yeah, I think Rasmussen and Takuma Sato are both 2 very similar personalities of guys that will push it up close as to the wall as they can, and it's either they're going to win or they're going to be in the wall. So very fun to watch regardless of where they are in the field.
Yeah, so anyway, just heading into our race predictions, we're going to give you our biggest mover, our favorite, and our underdog pick. So underdog, we're going to say, is someone who's around plus 3,000 odds, and then favorite is anyone below, higher odds than that.
Yeah.
With
the usual Palou.
No Palou. Obviously, he's got the best car and the best driver, I'd say, besides maybe Newgarden. And then biggest mover, we're thinking more like guys that maybe aren't in contention to win, but are gonna put themselves in a good position to place in the top 10. Top 5.
I think guys that qualified worse than they actually are. So from you want to favorite first?
No, let's do biggest mover. We'll save our favorites.
I'll do biggest mover as Jack Harvey, simply because of the fact that he can't go anywhere starting at 33. But we discussed this before. I think he underqualified that car from the get-go and is a good driver regardless. And has been in traffic before, so I think it has all the pieces, not maybe for like a top 10, but certainly for a top 15, if not higher, just to simply by like survival and a decent car.
Yeah, Harvey, we kind of build this data sheet out, but across the last 5 years, the difference between his qualifying and finishing position is a positive 8.4. So he's moving that thing almost 3 rows up every time he races. Last year he was finishing 19th, qualifying way back there in 32nd or 26th. So he's usually a safe bet, knows how to keep it clean. My pick, I'm gonna go with Christian Lundgaard. So Lundgaard in probably his best equipment ever. Obviously he had to get the hang of it last year a little bit more with McLaren his first season, but now that he's a little more settled in, he's averaged moving up 10 spots, which is obviously pretty insane when you look down the grid. That's third best, second best among people with 3 starts, just right behind Elio. But he's starting a little bit further back than Elio this year. Elio is usually qualifying a little bit worse And, now that he actually had a decent effort, I think he's going to move up to that top 5 pretty easily. But we talk about guys that are actually going to make up a lot of spots based on where they qualified. Christian Lundgaard has consistently done that. Finished P7 last year from an 8th position qualifying, but the year before that, he was all the way down to 28th, 30th, 31st. When he was with Rahal. Obviously, they've had some dreadful years, but has always moved it up in the teens somewhere. So I expect good things out of him, not necessarily a win, but someone that's going to move up to the grid. All right, now for your favorite pick, who would you say?
Yeah, so of the favorites, usually kind of the top 6 qualifiers, I'm going to go with David Malukas. So a guy who's already shown significant oval prowess in a Chevy, in a Penske. I think that really puts a solid recipe together. And as someone who's performed as one of the best Penskes this season, I really think he's got an opportunity to pull away with a win here. I think beyond that, I mean, it's kind of hard to get a full read on him because he's been bouncing around teams, both in a Foyt, which is kind of a pseudo Penske, and then he did some McLaren work. So I'm high on him. I think he's got a good opportunity, and he's got, on the outside of row 1, a good place to start as well.
Yeah, I mean, finished second last year after the disqualification. He's on the podium regardless. Someone who has slowly come around more and more. I mean, you think about him getting wrecked by, was it 2 years ago, by Will Power at the at Gateway. You think about all the chances he's had to win, whether it's there, whether with AJ Foyt being on that Penske program, he's always had success. I think about Iowa as well, and now he's just been knocking on the door of those wins, and Indy being your first win is not an uncommon thing. You think about Alex Rossi, his first win was here as well. And anyway, yeah, so I understand that pick for sure. But I actually lean towards Santino Ferrucci. So Santino put it in P6 on Sunday, which I think he was even surprised about. In his interview, after making it to the Fast 12, he's just like, we're just hoping to get to 9th, 10th, just don't do anything crazy and run a good run. And yet he still was able in those variable conditions to put it in P5. That's P5. So really impressive from him. And, he's, I think, one of, if not the only one of the first few people to ever complete all 200 laps for his first 6 starts.
Yeah.
And
on top of that, finishing the top 10 for all 6 of those starts. So a guy that performs well at this track and knows how to avoid chaos and traffic.
Average finish of 6 across these last 6 races. I mean, talk about every year coming to play and being up at the front, leading the race. This guy, that would also be his first win. So we're both picking guys that I think are younger and are waiting for their time to shine. And that was something I thought about coming into this year. Is like, with Palou winning, there really is no Michael Andretti. You're like, wow, like, is this guy ever going to win it?
Yeah,
right. And you obviously look at Dixon and you're like, wow, like, is this guy ever going to win it again? But when you talk about younger guys that have put in the time, have won the races, I guess O'Ward is the only guy that you would be like, wow, but like, he hasn't won championships. He's won races, but I mean, Michael Andretti, he was up to that Alex Palou level. And now you're looking, and I think O'Ward would be the first guy I'd say that deserves it next, but I think Malukas and Ferrucci, for what they've done here, are definitely next up. So, yeah, those are our picks for our favorites, and now going towards the underdogs.
Yeah, because the underdogs, this is a bit of a cheap shot because it's right on the cut line, but Takuma Sada, 2-time 500 winner, driving an RLO, which historically is a boat anchor, but he also won it.
He won in 2020
with the same boat anchor. So he's one of those guys. I mean, just doesn't have a single fear complex in him. Drives the track full tilt, and in a space where you've got a lot of veterans. I mean, Takuma is one that always puts himself in the mix. So I think it'd be fun to watch if he can do it.
Yeah, his famous phrase, no attack, no chance. And I think that summarizes him very well. He was actually going to be my pick. We did ours in secret. So I think I have to go with the next guy up, which, of course, is Christian Rasmussen, which I think is the Danish version of whatever that phrase would be. And, I definitely think that it's someone who obviously got his first oval win last year, probably didn't qualify as well, so I think the odds makers aren't giving him as much credit. Finished 6th last year, did some crazy things on track. I think he almost wrecked about 4 times.
He was battling lap traffic like it was for the win, and he was 3 or 4 cars in between below. But yeah, I mean he finds a way to drive that car to its end.
Well, he has that spirit of Rossi, that younger Rossi that we used to see just fly through the field effortlessly here, and I think that he's going to be one of these oval specialists for a very long time in Indy. And as we've luckily increased our ovals a little bit, I think that'll hopefully keep him in the sport longer. I know you look at guys like Connor Daly, and it's like if he was in those IRL days, like Weldon, what you kind of saw Weldon go out of style. It was almost like the NBA power forward, right? It's like you're really good at one thing, but all of a sudden your series isn't even doing it as much. Yeah. So I think that Rasmussen is one of those classic gritty, early 2000s, late 90s IRL drivers that we were used to seeing, and he has that spirit in him. So I think that
we weren't alive in the 90s, bro.
We weren't. We weren't.
we were in diapers in the 2000s. What do you mean what we used to see?
Yeah, well, I've watched YouTube highlights. I watched a lot of videos.
First race was 08. It's after the split.
Mine was 09. But anyway, So those are our picks. So again, I went with biggest mover. I went with Lundgaard, and then favorite I went with Ferrucci, and then underdog I went with Rasmussen. And then,
the biggest mover for me was Jack Harvey, favorite Malukas, and underdog Takuma Sato.
Yeah, and then just some other shout outs. I wouldn't say anyone past the plus 4,000 is worth betting by any means, but like I said, Ericsson, I think if he can find something, he gets up front. He always has a chance.
VK is starting in the fast 12.
Yeah, but he's like, we looked. I mean, VK is one of the worst.
He qualified a couple years ago when he wrecked Palou. So there's I think there's some other asterisks, but
still he wrecked himself. Mm-hmm. That's still on him. He's one of the worst when it comes to finishing where he qualified. When you look, it's actually him, Rosenqvist, and Grosjean. So yeah, since 2020. His average qualifying is 8.71. His average finish is 17.83. So I don't know. I'd stay away from him, but proceed with caution. And then
you can still put Elio and Will Power as former winners out there.
I'm not a Power guy. He's also not done that well, honestly.
Well, it's also just an Andretti car.
But yeah, so that is our predictions for the Indianapolis 500. On the last few things we have, just some other insights. So like I mentioned before, 5 of the top 6 qualified drivers finished in the top 5 in last Indy 500. So, you think about, let's see here. So, of course, Palou on pole won last year. David Malukas starting 3rd, finished 2nd last year. Felix Rosenqvist finished 4th, starting 4th. And then Santino Ferrucci finished 5th, starting 5th as well, and then Palou O'Ward starting 6th, finished at 3rd last year. So really, I think the winner has to come from that top 6. You would imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the odds, I think we looked this up the other day. It's like 21% have been on pole. Now, mind you, half of that was pre-1980s. Mm-hmm. But if you add in the front row, I think that covers like 60.
I think it was 40. Was it 40 or 60? It was somewhere.
It was like 10 and 10 for 2nd and 3rd. So the front row alone covers for a majority of the race. And then you have a couple outliers like Newgarden that are more plausible now. The cars are more competitive. But yeah, with how talented the top 6 is, I'd be surprised if it didn't come from them.
Yeah. So looking down the line, of course, Rossi and O'Ward moving into their backup chassis. So keep out an eye for that. I do think that makes it a little bit more interesting when it comes to who has a chance. We haven't even mentioned really Connor Daly yet. I think that he has a really strong car, and when it comes to pack racing, I think a lot of people consider him to be the strongest car outside of maybe Palou. So he's worth keeping an eye on. But I honestly didn't think his odds were good enough for what you were getting. Mm-hmm. He had the 3rd or 4th best odds. Anyway, looking down the line, as we mentioned, VK, Grosjean, and Rosenqvist typically drop the furthest, and then Lundgaard, Castroneves, and Harvey typically move up the furthest based on just the last 5 or 6 starts. And Rasmussen's moved up 12 spots in each of those last 2 starts. And on top of that, I've just got a little bit more trivia for Alan, unless you've got anything else for us.
No, that's it.
Just
Getting ready for race day.
Yeah, overall, any thoughts about what the race is going to be like and what to expect?
And I think to your point, O'Ward and Rossi having fresh cars are going to be an interesting wrinkle, but I trust that both teams are going to perform well. I guess while you're at your phone now, what's the weather looking like?
Yeah, I was actually going to – you read my mind. IndyCar Weatherman is our favorite Twitter account. I heard the IndyCar radio guys even referencing him the other day. Also, I'm going to the Little 500 at Richmond, or not at Richmond, at Anderson Motor Speedway. If you guys have never watched it, it's called Dirty Driving on HBO. It's one of my favorite documentaries about short track racing with a bunch of these locals driving their real beat up cars around that track, and there's some characters. Is all I'll say. I think you got to watch it for yourself. But the Little Five's a little bit more put together than that. They got some nice. I think it's some midget cars, but excited for that. But yeah, race day. It's like, let's see. IndyCar weatherman said it's partly cloudy, chance of afternoon PM showers, storms, high of 82, low of 62, with around 5 to 10 mile per hour wind.
Okay, so a bit cooler track temp.
Yeah. So I don't know if the rain will get bad enough that we could ever think about it getting called early, but it is something to think about. Overall, hopefully we get that halo around the track that we haven't had the last couple of years, and we can.
It's only rained once.
Yeah.
In 16 years.
I know. So hopefully we can get that halo and we'll be good to go. But nothing too scary to worry about. But yeah, really when it comes to the driving itself, I looked to last year getting Palou and Ericsson getting stuck behind lap traffic. And like we mentioned before, Rasmussen really being one of the only guys being able to pass.
It really just him and Newgarden. I think Newgarden and Daly, I think, are the most talented. Even Palou circles in that on ovals. Mm-hmm. And I think to a point with 33 cars on a 2.5 mile over, you're bound to run into somebody. So
am I gonna be in it?
I don't know. You may have to be.
Hi, sorry everyone.
Okay. But anyways, yeah. I mean, that the race itself, I don't have super high hopes until we get the new chassis. The hybrids are just too heavy. I don't know. I
think it's a couple cautions will save it, but otherwise,
yeah, we have had a lot more wrecks looking at the last couple of years.
And the hybrids definitely added more complexity. But I think even though we still have had last lap shootouts with the hybrid, so it's not impossible.
Not really. I mean,
because wasn't it
last year was the first year of the hybrid, and that was. That we have because remember they introduced it at Mid Ohio 2 years ago. So
yeah.
this
I was thinking like the Ericsson Newgarden and the Newgarden O'Ward, but
yeah. So hopefully I'm wrong, but anyway, I'm gonna give Alan a few more trivia questions about our favorite greatest spectacle of racing, and then we are gonna hit the road. And excited to see you guys. We'll be in turn 2 for the race as always. So come visit us.
Same spots, same traditions.
Who was the last driver in the DHL sponsored car before Alex Palou?
Hunter Ray.
No, not Hunter Ray.
It wasn't Hunter Ray. Because you did that in like the 2015s, so that'd be in between him.
Who was after him?
Who was after Hunter Ray? Was it Ericsson? Because he had the Huskies.
He's in the Delaware. Yeah, no, but he was with. It was with Andretti. But remember they switched over to Ganassi? He's in the field this year.
He's in the field this year, so it's not Herta. Cooper's too old. I don't know, I guess Sato. Was he with Andretti that time?
It was a full-time car.
His full-time car. Rossi?
He was Napa.
What year is this?
His last year racing in it, I think it was 2023.
Okay, so it's
or 24.
I don't know. I
think it was 2024. Yeah.
Mm.
Remember the rainbow?
It was Grosjean then.
Yeah, Grosjean. Let's see here. Can you name the 3 years or 4 years since we started going to the race that we've had the blackout lifted in Indianapolis?
4 years. Okay, so does that include this year?
Yeah.
So this year, last year, 2016, and I'm just gonna throw a shot in the dark. I guess 2010.
No. Think about it.
Because 2011 was the 100th anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Not that.
In post-split, it wasn't like they were really that successful. So would it be 2017?
No. 2020.
Oh. It's a stupid asterisk.
Do you think coming into this year's race, so including the 4 rookies this year, there are over or under 1,000 drivers in the Indy 500 ever to race?
Let's go over because half the field would die back in the 70s.
It's actually under. This year is at 808 at the start of the race.
I think with 33 drivers a year, I guess it's not a fresh 33 every time. So.
Well, yeah. If there was a new driver,
if you counted everyone that qualified, maybe, but
yeah. Well, not everyone that qualified. You mean everyone that attempted to qualify, right? Yeah. If we did 33 times 110, that's 3,600. So
yeah,
a lot of repeat offenders here. And then next up, how many bricks are visible on the start-finish line?
What's a yard of bricks?
Going vertically. If you're like counting them as you're going across them.
I'm not gonna do the math in my head, but you can just do yard of bricks and then calculate the dimensions of it to do it. Let's just go 100.
No, like just counting up like this, like counting up.
Oh, vertically? Isn't it like 10 or something?
It's 9. I actually counted it myself when I was in pit lane the other day.
That's funny.
What was the closest finish in Indy 500 history?
Ooh. It definitely wasn't last year, Kelly.
No.
I mean, I think some of my favorite close finishes would be the Andretti.
Yeah, not that.
Not that one.
That was close though.
That was great though. I would have to say probably in 15 with Hunter Ray and Cashin Neves.
I believe that's second. I know. I think you got 2 of the top 3. That's
Okay.
05 and 2014.
Then I'm gonna have to say was it 2020?
It's back in the 90s.
Back in the 90s. Okay, never mind. Because we've had a decent amount of close.
Big Al
finishes.
got this one. You can a lot of pressure here.
Let's go 92.
92. Yeah, that is actually.
It's a famous year.
Can you know who won?
Well, Lebanon's and no, that was before Zanardi. Let's go.
Zanardi never even raced here.
Really? Look like his cart. You're right. Let's go Mears.
No, Allinger Jr. He beat Scott Goodyear
Poor
by.
Goodyear,
Let's
man.
see what the number.
That guy he was in the museum for finishing second so many times.
Yeah,
I hope awarding him like that.
0.043 seconds. Yeah. And yeah, that's all I got. With that, we'll see you guys at the race, and anyone coming to Calcutta, hopefully you didn't get any of our notes.
If not, they probably can't figure out podcasts anyways.
Yeah, we'll have some more secret data we're not sharing, of course. But with that, I'm Jake Langdon.
And I'm Alan Langdon.
And we'll see you at the racetrack, fans.